Hello friends, I'm Miss Teri.
And I'm Miss Evelyn.
And today we will be leading you in a breathing and yoga sequence for the movement part of this week at Compassion Camp VBS. This week we're learning how compassion helps us see others and welcome them. To see and welcome is how we accept one another. When we gather together at the table, we accept each other the same way God accepts us.
Yoga began as a spiritual practice in ancient India, centering on bringing the mind, body, and spirit into oneness with the divine. This meaningful practice has grown globally, with people of all faiths and belief systems finding nourishment in different variations, a powerful reminder of how we learn from one another.
Breathing is the heart of yoga, and breath itself is a physical way to receive and release. As we reflect on the ways compassion helps us release and accept and welcome, we will focus on breath alongside some basic yoga poses.
Yoga is a great way to connect with our bodies, our breathing, and especially with God. Follow along as we stretch our bodies and focus on our breathing. We'll end our time with the traditional yoga greeting, Namaste, which is a call to see one another the way God sees each of us. One interpretation of this phrase is, the light in me sees the light in you.
Let's begin by finding an open space to stretch. You can use a yoga mat,
Or a towel,
or a blanket,
or just the floor.
Make sure you're wearing comfortable clothes that you can move in. Now,
Let's get started.
Sit on the floor, legs crossed. As we take 3 slow breaths, I see and welcome. I see and welcome. I see and welcome. Now move into child's pose. Kneel forward, big toes together, knees making a V, and stretch your arms forward. Let your forehead rest on the ground. Stay in this position as long as it's comfortable. Child's pose is a position where we connect with God's creation, the earth, and God's spirit within each of us as we bow our bodies and our hearts. Now move from the child's pose into the tabletop pose. Feel the steadiness of this pose and how your hands and knees firmly plant into the ground. The table is a place for regrounding. Feel your steadiness. There is room for everyone at God's table. From the tabletop pose, stretch your hips up, your legs back, and your arms straight into downward facing dog. We let ourselves be stretched and prepare to see what is to come. From downward facing dog, lower your hips into a plank pose. Now lower further to the ground and straighten your arms and stretch your upper body. Head towards the sky into the upper facing dog. Breathe in and out. We face the sun and welcome what this day holds for us. From upward facing dog, lower your body back to the ground and then push your hips and legs upward into downward facing dog once more. From downward facing dog, jump both feet forward or step 1 foot to meet your hands. Slowly roll your back up until you are standing straight and tall in the mountain pose. Let's flow through the sequence again, focusing on our breath and movement. From your mountaintop, lower yourself into the tabletop pose and breathe in. Breathe out as you move into downward facing dog. Breathe in as you lower into a plank pose. Breathe out as you stretch into upward facing dog. Breathe in as you move into lower facing dog. And breathe out as you stand slowly. Stretch up with one breath, and then breathe out as you lower into the tabletop pose again. Breathe in with downward facing dog and out into a plank. Breathe in with the upward facing dog and down. Breathe out with the downward facing dog. Breathe in as you slowly stand back up and out with a prayer. Breathe in as you lower to tabletop pose. Breathe out as downward facing dog. Breathe in with a plank pose and out with the upward facing dog. Breathe in with downward facing dog. Breathe out with the mountain pose as you step up. And slowly stretch, bringing your hands in front of you. We end our time by saying Namaste, the call to see one another the way God sees each one of us. The light in me sees the light in you.
And that's the end of our movement video for today. Thanks so much for joining us, and feel free to practice these poses throughout the week.
The light in me sees the light in you. Namaste. Thanks so much for joining us at Compassion Camp VBS. Check out the other videos, and we'll see you next week. God bless. Bye.
Bye.